Deep in the endless void of interstellar space, something impossible happened that changed everything we thought we knew about our universe. For decades, Voyager 2 had been humanity's most distant ambassador, traveling farther from home than any human-made object before it. But when this remarkable spacecraft suddenly broke its silence after months of mysterious radio blackout, the message it sent back would challenge the very foundations of space exploration. What Voyager 2 transmitted from the depths of space wasn't just data, it was something that defied explanation and left NASA scientists questioning whether we truly understand what lies beyond our solar system. The story you're about to hear involves secret protocols, encrypted communications, and discoveries that have never been made public. Stay with us, because what happened next might prove that humanity's greatest fear about deep space exploration has already come true. Voyager 2 launched on August 20th, 1977, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire civilization. This extraordinary spacecraft was designed with less memory than a modern digital watch, powered by barely 23 watts of radio energy. Its mission was audacious beyond imagination: to visit the gas giants Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, then continue into the unknown forever. The spacecraft exceeded every expectation, capturing storms larger than Earth itself, revealing rings we never knew existed, and discovering icy moons with active geysers shooting into space. It transformed mysterious dots of light in our telescopes into dynamic worlds with complex atmospheres and magnetic fields. But Voyager 2 didn't just send back pictures, it fundamentally changed how we see the universe. After completing its grand tour of the outer planets, the probe continued its journey, crossing the heliopause and entering interstellar space in 2018. This boundary, once thought to be a simple wall marking the end of our sun's influence, revealed itself to be something far more complex. Voyager discovered it wasn't a barrier, but a turbulent membrane, writhing with invisible forces, radiation, and cosmic currents flowing into the vast darkness beyond. When the spacecraft crossed this threshold, the rules of physics seemed to change in ways no one anticipated. For decades, Voyager 2 had whispered back to Earth, sending fragile signals across billions of miles of empty space. Each transmission was a miracle of engineering endurance, traveling through the cosmic void to reach our listening stations. But in March 2020, NASA's Deep Space Network lost all contact with the distant probe. Initially, engineers attributed this silence to routine maintenance at the 70-meter Goldstone antenna facility. When contact wasn't restored, a deeper fear began to take hold among mission controllers. Perhaps Voyager had finally succumbed to the darkness, its nuclear power source depleted, its systems frozen in the absolute cold of interstellar space. Then, in October 2020, something incredible happened that no one saw coming. Engineers sent a command to Voyager 2, and the spacecraft responded perfectly, as if nothing had ever been wrong. Not just a simple acknowledgment, but a complete detailed transmission containing navigation updates and system status reports. The probe had executed the command flawlessly, adjusted its orientation, and updated its internal clock without any errors. After nearly 6 months drifting in interstellar silence, Voyager was suddenly responsive, precise, and undeniably alive. But the strangest part wasn't that Voyager had awakened from its mysterious slumber. The truly unsettling discovery came from analyzing what the spacecraft transmitted next, a sequence of telemetry data that, according to internal mission logs, Voyager should never have been capable of generating. Legacy systems that had been dormant for decades suddenly activated, sending data from instruments long considered inactive. Subsystems that hadn't been accessed since the 1980s began transmitting status reports. It was as if something had reached into the spacecraft's deepest memory banks and awakened systems that had been sleeping for over 40 years. Before we continue with this extraordinary story, we need your help to keep bringing you these incredible discoveries from the frontiers of space exploration. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of the cosmos and want to support independent research into these unexplained phenomena, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Your subscription gives us the strength to continue investigating the stories that mainstream media won't touch, the classified discoveries and secret transmissions that reveal the true nature of our universe. Join our community of truth seekers and help us uncover what's really happening in the depths of space. Now back to Voyager's impossible message and what it might mean for humanity's future. Mission engineers were completely baffled by what they were seeing in the data streams. The information wasn't just ancient, it was layered in ways that seemed impossible. Signals were being transmitted on frequencies that Voyager hadn't used since the early 1980s. The data contained repetitive patterns, pulse sequences, and binary signatures that had never been documented before. NASA's initial explanation was that a system loop had been triggered by cosmic radiation interference. But independent experts noticed something far more disturbing in the signal structure. The transmission contained fragments of Voyager's own programming code, but in a recursive, self-referencing format. The spacecraft wasn't just sending data, it was transmitting itself, creating a digital mirror of its own consciousness. Some scientists theorized this was a survival reflex, a final attempt to preserve the probe's identity before permanent shutdown. Others suggested something far more frightening, that Voyager had encountered an external force that was accessing its memory banks, reading its systems, and reflecting them back in an altered form. If this theory was correct, then the message wasn't coming solely from Voyager. It was coming from whatever Voyager had encountered or made contact with in the depths of interstellar space. NASA officials remain officially silent about these disturbing speculations, but leaked internal documents from former contractors contain a phrase that appears repeatedly in classified reports. Unknown interaction detected. We've always imagined space as a cold, empty, silent void stretching endlessly between the stars. But the Voyager missions have revealed something entirely different about the nature of cosmic space. Even in its most remote corners, space isn't dead or passive. It's active, dynamic, and responsive in ways we're only beginning to understand. Radiation fields, magnetic currents, and high-energy particles create structures that behave like rivers and walls. It's as if interstellar space has a shape and movement that we cannot yet map or comprehend. The return message from Voyager 2, its impossible signal, isn't a conclusion to our story. It's just the beginning of a revelation that confirms what many feared but few dared speak aloud. Something is watching us out there, not necessarily in the way we imagine, with alien intelligence or extraterrestrial beings, but in a more subtle and more disturbing way that suggests the universe itself isn't passive. It reacts, it responds, and perhaps it has been waiting all along for something like Voyager to arrive. As NASA analysts continued decoding the data packets sent by Voyager 2, they discovered portions of telemetry that triggered alarms, not just because of their content, but because of their precise timing and coordination. The packets had been transmitted just before the probe's brief silence period. They contained anomalies that defied current models of interstellar plasma behavior and magnetic field distribution. The patterns were too organized, too periodic, and too structured to be natural phenomena. Internal reports mentioned localized pressure differences incompatible with standard cosmic turbulence. In plain language, this technical jargon suggested that something was exerting intentional pressure on Voyager's immediate environment. Some researchers proposed it might be the gravitational wake of a nearby but undetected massive object. Others suggested that the probe had passed through an artificially stabilized zone, an envelope or corridor of unknown origin. These conclusions were never made public, but within certain aerospace laboratories and black-budget research departments, simulations began running continuously. The data was unmistakable. Voyager had traversed something that had altered not only its environment, but possibly its behavior patterns as well. For decades, one of the unspoken fears of deep space exploration has been the possibility of sending something too far from home. Space agencies have been obsessed with avoiding biological contamination of other worlds. They sterilize probes before launch and maintain hermetically sealed clean rooms like surgical environments. But Voyager 2 raised a new and more troubling concern about contamination working in reverse. If the probe had passed through an unknown energy field or encountered an interstellar system with active properties, could it have been altered? Not physically damaged, but informationally transformed in ways we don't yet understand. Could it have absorbed patterns, instructions, or even code into its systems without our knowledge or consent? When Voyager's backup software reactivated and began transmitting recursive logical loops, some engineers didn't interpret this as a distress call. They saw it as behavior, as intention, as evidence of fundamental change in the spacecraft's core programming. The idea that a machine could be influenced, not infected, but transformed by its interaction with the cosmos is no longer considered fringe science. It raises profoundly troubling questions about the nature of information, consciousness, and cosmic influence. If the universe can imprint itself on our technology, who else might be listening, watching, or changing our mechanical ambassadors? Within Mission Control, a new protocol was implemented without any public announcement or media coverage. Voyager 2's signal is now monitored by a restricted team independent of NASA's general operations. The reason is disturbing. The data stream is no longer considered purely scientific in nature. It has become unpredictable, erratic, and potentially influenced by forces beyond our understanding. Engineers report that the signal's intensity fluctuates in ways that don't match normal space weather patterns, not gradual attenuation as expected, but sharp, sudden changes as if reacting to solar activity that doesn't exist. The pulse intervals have begun repeating in patterns that echo Voyager 1's telemetry data from years earlier, but transmitted in reverse chronological order. Some theorists believe the probes might be transmitting data through an unknown medium. Information passed through spatial corridors with built-in time delays that we haven't discovered yet. Others warn of a kind of cosmic resonance triggered not by mechanical failure, but by proximity to force fields, gravitational anomalies, or unknown intelligence. The team monitoring these signals has been instructed not to comment publicly on their findings. Internal communications have been redirected through encrypted systems with the highest security classifications. A leaked note circulating online contained only the cryptic instruction, "Maintain position, do not respond without authorization," as if someone or something might actually answer back if we're not careful about what we transmit. As Voyager 2 continues deeper into interstellar space, the data it sends back becomes more than simple information. It becomes a mirror reflecting not just the cosmos, but ourselves and our deepest fears about what lies beyond Earth. For the first time in human history, a machine built by our species has penetrated a domain we cannot visit, cannot see, and perhaps cannot comprehend. The fear isn't that Voyager has discovered something extraterrestrial in the traditional sense of alien civilizations. The fear is that it has discovered something ancient, something that isn't made of matter or metal, but of space itself, a structure woven into the fabric of the universe that reacts to movement, to mass, and perhaps even to memory and consciousness. If this is true, then Voyager hasn't just explored the cosmos, it has become an integral part of it. A relay station, a key, or a trigger for something far older than stars, older than galaxies, older than time itself. The final message it transmitted wasn't a conclusion to its mission. It was a threshold being crossed, and once passed, there might be no possibility of return to the universe we thought we knew. We built Voyager to leave Earth behind, and it accomplished that mission beyond our wildest dreams. But now it may have found something that never wanted to be found, something that speaks without words and waits without moving. Voyager 2 was never supposed to return to Earth, never supposed to be heard from again after its power source depleted. It was designed as a whisper into the unknown, a one-way signal launched toward eternity and silence. But somehow, impossibly, it has spoken back to us, not with words or even code as we understand it. Instead, it communicates with something more terrifying, more magnificent, and more impossible than we ever imagined. A response that seems conscious, deliberate, and aware of our existence across the vast emptiness of space. What the probe encountered in the depths of interstellar space remains undefined and perhaps undefinable. A force, a structure, a reaction, or perhaps even a form of communication that uses no language but rhythm, radiation, and gravity itself as its alphabet. What we once perceived as empty void might actually be something entirely different. A field of consciousness woven into the very fabric of space and time, waiting patiently for something like Voyager to make first contact. Voyager 2 may not have simply crossed a boundary between our solar system and interstellar space. It may have triggered something ancient, awakened something that had been dormant, or revealed a cosmic truth we were never meant to perceive. We thought we were alone because no one had ever answered our calls into the darkness. Now we must ask ourselves a far more disturbing question. What if someone had been answering all along, and Voyager was simply